Nasty Ronnie Galletti, welcome to 69 Face of Rock. How are you doing tonight?
Oh man, it's always good to see you, man. It's we're doing good, man. Here in Florida, it's still warm here. Ready for some cooler weather.
Well, maybe you need some Chicago weather, which is a little bit different. Anyways, first of all, congratulations on the new album. It's absolutely fantastic. It has all Nasty Savage trademarks and components that Nasty Savage record needs to have. So, how did you decide the time was right for the new Nasty Savage album?
Well, I mean, as you know, we've been playing for about the last 5 years. You know, with David Austin and Pete and Jim, and you met Scotty. Scott left after David left 2 years ago. After we played Mexico City, David said, "Man, I'm done with it. Just I've had enough. Still love you, but." I'm done. So I told Pete, I said, Pete, man, who do you have? And Pete had this guy named Dave Orman, and Dave Orman learned the songs. We went up and played. Uh, we played a gig and broke him in, and then Scott, we started writing new music and stuff, and we had interest from FHM Records, a friend of mine from Germany, Frank, and he wanted to. He agreed. I said, hey, we were jamming. And they said, "Oh, Ron will never do another album." It's been 20 years, since Psycho Psycho, and I was like, I got to figure this out because I want to do one. And when Dave left, I said, "No, David, it's not the end of Nasty Savage. There's another chapter." So I knew I had to produce something, and with the new guys, there was new energy there. And when I told Frank, I said, "Dude, let's just do a Nasty Savage album," because he was friends with Siren and released their album. He was a big fan. And he was a Nasty Savage fan. He comes to Florida a lot because he's got a house down here and he rides Harleys. So we'd go out and ride Harleys. And one night he was spent the night at my house because we were getting up early to go riding. And I made this big breakfast. I said, dude, I go, you know what? Let's just do a Savage album. He goes, oh, Ron, that would be great. So I was able to tell the guys, we're doing an album, man. And it became legitimately real. And with that, we were focused on creating new music. And, it was like, we got to do it. And that's how it all came together. I mean, we had someone who committed to us because while Dave was still in the band, we actually went in the studio and recorded some drums and rhythm tracks and didn't get to the lead tracks, and we just lost interest, and it just never happened.
Mhm.
But we did have that new song that we played, and you saw it, the Six Finger. So
Yeah.
with that, I was able to say, "Look, we have new music, man. We already have this song," and it validated what we were about to do, and that's how it all came together.
How long did it take you to write these songs?
Well, when Frank was here, it was in October, and our goal was all of a sudden after we did the deal with Frank, I got a call from Oliver, who's the promoter of Keep It True, and all of a sudden he's a good friend of Frank's, and he said, "Hey Ron, I want you guys to play Keep It True, and it's in October, and we're going to celebrate 40 years of Nasty Savage within this concert, this festival." And that'll be one of the elements of the festival. So I was like, man, that's cool. So we had a plan to have everything done, completed, and ready to go. So it would debut at Keep It True because Frank is going to be there set up with his booth and, vendor, and he's going to have the record. So that was our goal. So we had to get busy. We had, a physical calendar year, but you got to have the artwork and everything done in advance, so they can start ready to do the record. So you had to have the artwork in advance, like 3 months, 4 months earlier. So, it was exciting for me because I haven't written songs for 20 years, but I had plenty of volumes of information, notes, rhymes, poems, things that I accumulated. And then I had a lot of really cool titles. So, it all happened within 1 year.
Fantastic. Now, this time you were the only original member left, yet the album sounds just like classic Nasty Savage. What kind of a mindset did all of you share?
Well, the guys were Savage fans pretty much. But actually, Scotty left the band and we acquired Kyle Sokol. So then he was our new bass player, and he got in right before we went. We had to do a live gig, and 2 Minutes to Tulsa was his first gig with us. And then right after that, he just came back from a tour with this band Astronomica, and so he had to come. He was almost learning the songs in the studio, although he did have them. He just didn't have a lot of time to learn them. And because Dave wrote 4 songs, Pete wrote 4 songs. So being the only member, the guys, Kyle was a Nasty Savage fan. So he was familiar with the sets and the songs, and he saw us long ago, and really cool. Pete and Jim, the drummer, and those guys. Those guys kind of grew up learning Nasty Savage and seeing us. So then they're in the band. Dave Orman really didn't know a lot about us, so he just started researching and learned the set list, and it brought us all together. All those guys played in a band. At least Pete, Jim, and Dave played in a band called Contorted like 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they actually did an album. So I told them, I said, look, guys, don't worry about the past, man. Don't worry about I want it bigger, faster. I want it stronger, like the $6 Million Man. I said, it's in your hands to take it to another level. I mean, I want some stuff I never had before, like some ka-chunk rhythms and, just some really cool difference. But they were honorable and they felt like, dude, we're Savage. We know what to do. And they kept a lot of that back and forth guitar stuff and that, hypnotic stuff, whatever. But they also added some new death style, faster, heavier, a little bit stronger. It's hard to top what we did. You can't compare it to albums like Indulgence or our first album. They're classics that will stand the test of time. So I said, just let's do now. All we can do is now, guys. And I just tried to inspire them. And how I did it was I would give them song titles, which I never did before. I'd always get the music from Dave and Ben and everybody, and then I'd come up with a title and name and the words. So this time I said, man, I've got this song, Pete. It's called Schizoid Platform. It's going to be platforms with schizophrenia. It's got to be crazy and wild, And then I told Dave, I've got a song called Brainwasher, man. It just do your thing, man, and same with Aztec Elegance, Dave, and Blood Syndicate, Dave, and Pete wrote Jeopardy Room and Operation Annihilate, and Sainted Devil. So each guy wrote 4 songs. We already had the Six Finger, and then we redid The Witch's Sabbath from the demo. So
we're gonna get to that one.
Yeah, so what I did, I just tried to inspire them with the titles and give them a little bit about what I was thinking. The music was all up to them, and I'm really proud of what they did because they and David Orman, he would send me on Messenger because he lives in Alabama, so he'd send me the song, and I'd say, dude, when he's playing it right on camera, send it to me, and I go, I need you to say start, stop, where I sing and come in. I said chorus. Sing, stop. That way I had that blank canvas. And once I got that music, it made me write what I felt the music to be and how I put the words to the rhythms and the songs. And it was like a blank canvas for me to create to. So I was really excited about it. But they delivered, man. You're right. They a lot of people hear and go, it sounds like Nasty Savage. But really, does it really? It does, but it doesn't. It's like it can be. I think because of me, it brings it all together. But I think it's another step in another direction at the same time.
It sure is. There's a lot of multiple layers there. Now, you recorded the album in Florida in Morrisound with Jim Morris producing. How helpful was Jim in achieving that perfect sound?
Very, very much, man, because when Jim, I went into the studio on a meeting that when Oliver came into town from Keep It True, Ed Aborn from Siren set up a day. He was in Florida and he came through Tampa, and Ed set some studio time where we could go and he could meet Jim Morris and hear the stories of Sabotage and Crimson Glory and Iced Earth and all these bands, Death, Deicide, I mean, Obituary, all these historic stories, and meet Jim Morris. We were in there, and that's when I told Jim, I said, I think we're going to do an album, man. He goes, dude, you got to do it here. You got to do it here. And I've recorded now in all three of their locations. And then I brought the guys in for another meeting to meet Jim. And Scott was still with us at the time. And I said, I want you guys to just talk to him. And Jim, the drummer, already worked with Jim before on some Brutality stuff. But, once they met him, I wanted them to get associated with him. And then he turned out to be the sixth finger, man, because I knew we were in good hands, and that's why we have a good production, and you can hear everything right. And, we crammed this in, dude. We only had a limited budget. We did everything in 8 sessions, and that's including the mixing and mastering. I did my vocals in a day and a half, 9 songs in a day and a half. They did the guitars, they did the drums, the bass, and all of a sudden I'm going to wake up one morning like 20 years later, go, today I'm going to go do my vocals today. I was armed and ready, man. Like, I had my words, man. I'm not a bird man, I'm a word man. And I had my armor and my ammunition was with me, and everybody knocked their stuff out. But Jim Morris, he just took it to another level, and we're in totally good hands. And you can't lie about production. The songs could suck, everything could suck, but if you have good production and you can hear everything, it's clear, you can't lie about that. And really proud that and happy that we went with Jim, because some of those 8 days or 8 sessions, some of them were 15, 16-hour sessions, and Jim would just be on that board, and I don't know how he can do it for so long and stay mentally fit and still giving ideas and still caring to give you that excellent customer service that you deserve. And the next day he might be dealing with the classical music or country music, but man, when he was in our zone, he was in our zone, and he helped each one of us, get it done, and was always inspiring. And I told the guys, if he's got ideas, man, let's go with them, because they're going to be good ideas. And just don't mess with them. Just go with it. Do your job. And it was incredible working with Jim Morris.
That makes sense.
He's an incredible soul.
You wanted the best,
and it was
got
funny.
the best.
Yeah, and Scott Burns was there, in the past, and when we originally recorded there, Scott was just a guy who was an assistant learning. He was getting the coffee and changing the tapes and stuff, and the history of what turned out there and the death metal that he created, and he's got a book out now. But working with Jim Morris, it was just so amazing. And I had this really cool Beatles clock. He's a big Beatles fan. So after we were done and everything, the last session we were there, I said, Jim, we brought you a present. I gave him this Beatles clock, and he goes, oh man, if I knew I was going to get a present, I would have worked harder. He's just a funny guy, and he worked his ass off, man. I mean, he's such a pleasure, such a pleasure.
Obituary, which you mentioned already, joins you on the re-recording of Witch's Sabbath. How did this happen, and how was the experience like for you?
Well, when I was talking to Frank that day in my kitchen, when I was telling him before we went out for a ride, I said, dude, if we do the album, Obituary is going to be on it too, man. And we're going to redo Witch's Sabbath. And at that time, I haven't even talked to Obituary yet. But going back to the concept of this album, it was like, man, okay, I'm the only guy with Nasty Savage flag here holding it on this island. And I got all these new members, 4 new guys, and everybody's going to say, well, it's not Nasty Savage without this, and it's not that, it's not real Nasty, blah, blah, blah. So I knew I had to get together a game plan, and a positive game plan. So the first thing was, going back to Morrisound, because people go, oh, they did it at Morrisound, so yeah, let's check it out. Then the thing was, oh man, what about the album cover? And that's where I went back to Vandekar, and I got a story about Vandekar, but he was dead 35 years. So how am I going to get any artwork? So I Googled and got a message off, and someone responded, and it happened to be his grandson. He said, "Oh, yeah, I'm still here at the house." I go, "You're at the house with the gargoyle on the roof and the dome and the iron gates and all those cool statues?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I know who you are. Yeah, come on out." And we went the next day and found the canvas, and I took pictures of all the statues that are in the CD artwork and stuff. So I got Vandekar now. So when people saw the Vandekar, they associate it and say, "Oh, Nasty Savage Vandekar, that's that same artwork." And Morris Sound. And then I went to Fred Dregerson, our original bass player, the mastermind of the early days in the first album, and the inspiring guy who inspired me every day to do what I do is Fred Dregerson. I said, "Fred, now, and I want you to write something." He was going to write the song Jeopardy Room, but it just took him too long. He lives in Turkey now, and he didn't get it to us in time. So I said, because we were on a timeline. So I said, "Pete, let's use that song you got for Jeopardy Room because it's heavy." And there was Jeopardy Room. So when Fred sent us the song, we just took a part out of it and used it as invocations for the opening intro of the album. And because of that, it brought back now another element. It brought Fred Dregerson back from the original days of Nasty Savage. And then the other thing I had to do was bring back bring Obituary in because they did a lot for us. One day, a long time ago, it's a famous story that they came to my mom's house and asked if Nasty Ronnie was there. And I went to the door. My mom said, "There's two boys at the door." So I go to the door, and there's two kids on bicycles. They go, "Are you Nasty Ronnie?" I said, "Yeah." And they go, "Well, we're John and Donald Tardy. We want to know how to start a band." I mean, they came to my house. There was no Google. They found out where I lived and knocked on the door. I said, "Dude, you guys are brilliant." I said, "Let's go to Lithia Springs. We'll throw the Frisbee. I'll teach you everything I know." Get in my Chevelle, my 70 Chevelle hot rod. And like 10, 15 years later, I'm so proud of those guys, what they've accomplished and their business ethics, and they're just businessmen. And they're great, great dudes, man. And they're the brothers, it's bonding, it's business. Anyway, 10, 15 years later, they put us in that video, 10,000 Ways to Die. So I was like, damn, man, what an honor. They took the time to honor us in this video. And now it's an animated video. Unchained Angel is featured, and it's got like 7 million views. So I was like, damn. Then they put us in the book that they did, a whole chapter of Nasty Savage inspiration on how we inspired the Tampa Bay area and Brandon metal, made it, I guess, really blossom to inspire them. So it was a no-brainer for me to reach out to them. And it's like the past to the future to the future to the past. So I called Donald. I said, "Man," he goes, "Dude, I'd love to play the drums." And I didn't think of him playing the drum. I thought them just doing some backups. He goes, "I'll do the drums, man. And you got to talk to John, though." So I had to talk to John and got him. And he was like, "Yeah, man, we got to figure it out, though. I got to figure it out, see how." And, and they were just coming back or going to Australia and Japan. And then they were going off on another tour. So they were on a timeline and we were on a timeline. And damn, I'll be damned if the day he didn't bring that hard drive to the studio to Morrisound was the day we were doing rhythm tracks. And we plugged it right in, man. And then John delivered the vocals a little while later. But it was amazing how they just delivered and took care of business right between their busy touring schedule. And, they were really cool about it. And after we were done, the whole time in the studio, I was recording a behind the scenes making of kind of video. So I had to go to their studio to get some quotes from them, a little interview. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because in the interview they're talking, and I'm asking them now how to do the touring stuff, and what's new with merchandising, and how do you take all the cash that you make home, how do you get it back to the airport, and just a lot of elements and stuff, and a lot of business stuff, that I wasn't down with totally. So I'm driving home, I'm going, damn, man, it was cool because now the students, the teacher, and this teacher's the student, so I was just thinking about how cool it was to have them involved with this. And, I mean, if anything, it's all about brotherhood and friendship. And business wise, I'm sure it's good too, because a lot of people now are going to go, wow, they're on Obituary. Let's check out the Nasty Savage. And it just made a lot of sense, and it was a game plan that I actually had, and it all worked out perfectly. And
Absolutely.
it sounds killer, man.
Does
We took a classic song and made it an epic song.
definitely. So the original guitar duo, one of the best duos in metal, Ben Mayer and Dave Austin were responsible for the classic Nasty Savage sound, right? How did you go about putting Pete Sykes and Dave Orman into that role and still maintain the same sound and feel?
Well, it was totally on them, man. They knew they had big shoes to fill. They had a lot of respect, but they also took on the challenge to to create their own thing. And like I said, Pete wrote four songs, Dave wrote four songs, and then like Pete did all his, Dave did all his. He did his own rhythms and doubled the rhythms, and then they just switched out same thing that Pete did for his, and then they switched off on the leads back and forth. So it's really like a mathematical uh, mathematical equation how they do that shit. And it's really unbelievable how it all came together and how it still has that. I do think they have that Dave and Ben kind of thing going on them, and I think the vocals bring it all together, but they stand out, man. And like I said, I'm really proud that these guys delivered like that, and they have the passion, they had the emotion, and my job was to just inspire them and push them and motivate them to deliver. And they knew what they had to do, and they were up for the challenge. As you can see, they delivered. And the past is the past. We can't change any of that. You got to love everybody equally, like your children. You love the records, you love the songs, you love the members, but you have to deal with the present because that's all we have in life. And
Yeah,
that's what we did, man. The guys really kicked ass, and
they did.
I, I, I think it's pretty cool because a lot of people are digging it.
Yeah. In fact, Dave Austin went on the record with a very personal post on Facebook congratulating the band and reviewing the songs. And I think that type of validation speaks volumes.
It really does. And Dave's been nothing but first class. I mean, he comes over sometimes and watch the football games, and I'll cook some steaks. And, he's always been a big supporter of it. And he's got a really cool project working too, DNA, and that'll be out soon. It's four songs. But, he's really, really liked what we were doing, appreciates. I gave him an advance copy, and he listens to it. He'll call me sometimes. He said, "Dude, I just listened to it again, dude." He goes, "It's really badass." And he even said, there's like four or five different bands that release new records, and this Nasty Savage production and everything just is top of the charts on these other guys. And then he did that review, man. He kept saying, "I'm going to review it. I'm going to review it." I go, "Okay." And then he reviews it and gave us a 10. How many bands, past members, do stuff like that? It's just really cool, man. It just shows that his heart and passion is still, for Nasty Savage as well. And he's proud of it because he knows how hard it was to accomplish what we did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even him being outside of the band, he will never stop being part of Nasty Savage. What he created is timeless, him and Ben.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. You can't change that past, and it's hard to even put anything up against Indulgence, Penetration Point, Psycho, or the original first album, or even the Wage of Mayhem demo, but the Wage of Mayhem CD as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's just it's a part of the body of work.
It
And
is.
that's where I'm at with my body of work. And I had to adapt, man, because I didn't want to go and do a bunch of high vocals, and because it would have taken more time to do that stuff. You got to do layers and harmonies, and it just takes a lot more time. And we're on a timeline. But also, I wanted to just go mid-range power to maybe keep it a little more accessible to the new fans that might be listening to us for the first time.
Totally makes sense. Now, what feedback are you getting so far from the fans?
I mean, we really haven't had any negative feedback at all. I mean, it's I think, man, we're in the running. It could be running for the comeback of the year. I mean, comeback band of the year, or it could be the album up there, right there with the new release of the year, because that's the kind of stuff we're getting. And I've been working with a production promotion company, and man, he's been getting me a ton of press and media interviews. And there's also another promotion company in Europe done the same because now everything's changed, man. It's like if you're not in the social media, man, it's just these platforms on top of platforms, but they're gone tomorrow. It's like you're standing on a dock and a boat goes by and there it is. What's next? You know, people forget about you real quick. So we did a lot of press, a lot of media going to Germany to do Keep It True with the record just coming out was amazing. I mean, we did an autograph session there, supposed to be 40 minutes, and we were there for 90 minutes and still didn't get half the people who were in line to get us to sign the records. And I mean, they're selling a ton of records. So it's been overwhelming, you know, and for me at my age, I'm going to be 63. I was saying I'm 62 and I'm keeping it true, you know, but in December here, I'm going to be 63, still smashing TVs, swinging those chains and throwing the flowers down on the televisions before I smash them, then getting the crimson mask with the blood. You know, it just we're getting ready to play next Sunday. We're playing here at Swarm Fest. So I'm starting to get that thing again. We got other shows coming up, but you know, it's just the response has been great, you know, and I'm talking about media sources and people and you know the fans. Everybody who's I mean, look at the you can look at the Nasty Savage Metal Nights page. I don't
Mhm.
know if you're a member there,
Oh
right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, you can scroll down and you see what people are saying, and it's just heartwarming to know that we accomplished something we set out to do, and you know people are digging it. But you know we did it for ourselves, but I mean we definitely wanted people to appreciate it, and you know overall, I mean everything's been almost 100% positive.
No, you have a great record, and the response is as good as it should be. Ronnie, you are always the man with the plan. So, what plans do you have in regards to Jeopardy Room?
Well, you know, to me, I'm not the Energizer Bunny. You know, we're just kind of going methodically, step by step, and seeing what happens, and you know, just getting the record done, getting it out on time, making it to Keep It True, doing that gig, and now things are starting to happen. We got you know booking agencies calling us, wanting to book this and that. We're booked to play Alcatraz Festival in Belgium in August. We've got a show coming up with here in Florida in January with Venom Inc. and Deicide. So that should be really cool in Mount Dora. And we're going to go to South America again and play, I think it's Ecuador and Costa Rica and somewhere else in January. So, you know, we're playing Hell's Heroes in March in Texas. That's a big show. You know, we're just seeing what happens. You know, we're trying to lock down some more distribution in America. You know, it's hard to find the album here, and it's hard to buy it from Europe and having to, you know, pay all that postage. So, you know, we're just seeing what happens. You know, nowadays it's not easy for bands to do stuff because everything costs so much to fly, to drive. You know, just Dave lives in Alabama, so you know everything's you got to be smart about it. And then if you go to Europe with one show and then add on these shows, someone's got to fly you in and fly you out. You know, it's complicated. It's complicated. So
Of course it is.
it, you just have to kind of take it step by step. And I like working with single promoters and going in and coming out. You know, but if we could line up some shows, or I think what would really be cool, and I haven't pushed it yet, but doing something with Obituary, you know, go support those guys and you know take us out for 20 shows or 10 shows or get on another. I think our best bet would be support another band, you know, that's bigger that can kind of show us the way and we could support them and, you know, be able to play in front of their crowds and get turned on to a bunch of new people. So I think, but we're ready for anything. You just got to be smart about it.
That's absolutely fantastic. Why the title Jeopardy Room?
You know, it's like I come up with all these titles, and I have these titles in my mind. I write them all down. I have like 20 different titles. And one day I was talking to David Austin a long time ago, and I said, dude, I got this title. Check it out, Jeopardy Room. And he was like, "Oh, dude, I love that album. I love that title." And David loved that title. And then I said, "I've got this other title." You know, I remember the day David called me a long time ago and said, "Dude, I got this song title." And I go, "What is it?" He goes, "X X X." And I was like, "Dude, I love that." And those are those moments, you know, that you really never forget because we wrote a song called, it's, you know, probably one of our most popular songs. And with Jeopardy Room, he loved that. And I said, dude, I love that. So thought I'd call the album Jeopardy Room. And I actually got the title from a Twilight Zone episode. It was a title of one of their episodes called Jeopardy Room. My Jeopardy Room, I started researching it and thinking about it. And there's a game show where they give the answers first. You know, it's a game show with a twist. And I was thinking along those lines. And then I started thinking about, we're in a Jeopardy room. Life is a Jeopardy room, man. The
Correct.
challenges of life, man. I mean, we're locked in this room, man. When you're in traffic, you got to get to work on time to punch that clock, you know, because the boss is gonna bust your balls if you're late again. You know, you got to pay your bills. You got to, you know, people are cutting you off in traffic. They're not letting you over. You got your blinker on. You know, you're stopped at another red light. There's a train across the track. You know, just we're in jeopardy, and then you're in jeopardy with just the bullshit we have to deal with, the hate, you know, or the just the you know the things in life. When I write this album, I was thinking about, like, if you're on Facebook or something, you hear birth, and then you have death, and then you have hate, and you have love, and you have all these different emotions, you know, that are happening before your eyes, and you see it. So I wanted to feel that. And like, you're locked in a room, and let's go down the spiral staircase, and at the bottom you try to get out of that door, and it's all of a sudden you open up and you're in Operation Annihilate, and you shut the door and you go back up, you get it, and now you got to open up, you're in schizoid platform. And so every door is another name of a song, and it's the reality that we deal with, man. So Jeopardy Room, positive, negative, whatever it is, you know, it's just something we have to look in the mirror and say, are we in the Jeopardy room, man? Are we in jeopardy? I
Mhm.
got to cross that bridge, man. I gotta live another lifetime, another year. You know, our relationships with our bosses, our friends, our family, our kids, our wives, you know, are we in jeopardy? You know, think about it. I wanted you to think about the Jeopardy room. And I'm sitting in a Jeopardy room right now. We're thinking about tomorrow. And then if you think about it, in the song Southern Fried Homicide, it says, joy and sorrow today and tomorrow. What greater crime than the loss of time? You know, think of it, joy and sorrow today and tomorrow. What greater crime than the loss of time? You know, don't lose your time, man. Make the most of it. Enjoy it while you have it. You know, we're blessed to be here. You know, inspire others and do positive things, and get in the Jeopardy room and get out of it, or turn it upside down, you know, turn that frown into a smile and shit, you know. It's whatever you want it to be, but you're locked in a Jeopardy room, and this album takes you in there, and each doorway is that next song. And speaking of Southern Fried Homicide, when I told Dave, and when Dave and Scotty were still in the band, I said, I got this title. And they go, oh man, I don't like that song. I don't like that title. And Scott really didn't like it. And that just made me want to do it anyhow more and more, because I love that title. And Dave Orman wrote that song, dude. And he's like, there's some killer rhythm, like chugga chugga chugga. I can't believe they had to die. Southern Fried Homicide. You know, it's like her disguise, icy eyes, higher desire, fever believer. You know, it's like, man, I dig it, man. I really got into writing this stuff to that music. You know, it's like, and that's what the Jeopardy room is all about, is like, take your passions on a roller coaster ride of emotion. Feel it. It's hypnotic. Live it, you know, and let it take you off your take your mind off everything else you're dealing with and put your headphones on or earbuds, whatever it is, or just I love sitting in the car and cranking that shit up and hearing it because it's amazing that we did this album. It's called Jeopardy Room, and man, it's just I think it's a fitting title.
It is, and I love your enthusiasm. Um, is this the beginning of a new chapter? Will there be any more records?
I think so. I mean, I've already got a bunch of cool titles ready to go, and I'm already putting words together, and it's just a matter of either we have a one record deal with Frank, and so I got to talk to him about doing another record with him, or so that's one reason why I wanted to do it with Frank because we didn't have to shop around a demo and do this and that. He just said, "Let's do it," and it was an easy thing to accomplish because when you're no matter who you are negotiating and no one wants to sign people that much because record companies are very hard to make money. And if you're older, they just want to put you out on the road and sell the records, man, and then you have merchandise, but it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. So, then everything's on Spotify and this and that, and it's hurting record sales. But now vinyl's coming back, so that's a positive point.
Mhm.
But as far as I didn't want to negotiate, I didn't want to have to go up that, it could have taken a lot longer to get signed because who's going to believe in you? Frank from FHM was a Savage fan. He loves Nasty Savage, and he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I don't know if any other record company would have just done that and believed in us. He believed in us, man, and it was so cool that we delivered something. And I got a voicemail from him after he heard when we sent him the final mix because he didn't hear any of it. He goes, Ron, and I still have it. He said, I had high expectations, but what did he say? I had high expectations, but this exceeded my expectations. He goes, I am blown away. And, to hear that from him as a man, a businessman who trusted us to do it because his whole thing was, I don't know if people are going to like it. I don't know what to expect. He goes, but I have faith in you. And to be able to deliver something I got to a businessman who believed in us was very, very rewarding to me. And then, to have the positive response that the guys could read these reviews and know that they did a good thing, and people are digging it.
Yeah, I
Can't
mean,
please everybody, but man, I'm telling you, it just so there has to be another chapter. I mean, this chapter, it's still this chapter. So I think this chapter will continue.
mhm.
It's it's this new band, the new five guys. I don't think anybody's going anywhere. Um, so it would be this chapter that we're in right now would continue. Yes.
Totally makes sense. Did you consider ever doing like a official live record for Nasty Savage?
Well, we did. There's one live in Cleveland.
Yeah, but something
Um,
like grand, like something that would celebrate the 40 years of the band. Maybe
it,
bring
it would
everybody
it
back
would
and yeah.
it would be nice. We just have to have it's always an issue when we play live with the mix. We don't have a sound man 90% of the time that travel with us, 99% of the time. So we're at the mercy of whoever's running the soundboard and with the effects, with the high vocals, it comes in as a challenge sometimes, really hard. So a live album, you never know, man. It could be good, or maybe the best of and put it all together.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I listen to the live stuff, I go, "Oh shit, that just doesn't sound as good." So live is a hard thing. You gotta probably take it in and edit it and do things. But I never really thought of a live album like that. But the live in Cleveland was a soundboard tape
Mhm.
with a great sound man, and that is I don't know how much better we can get than something like that because those songs are classics.
Yeah, that was a
And
good sounding tape for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Tony
but
East, that was our sound man.
maybe something even locally in Florida. Bring Jim Morris to do the sound, and make it a big event for people to travel.
Yeah, and we could say you're gonna have the old days. Just say you're gonna be on the record. We're recording tonight. I think a Bob Seger said that at one of his concerts or somebody, Ted Nugent maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's something we'd have to really plan and figure out. And sometimes it's hard to do stuff like that because everywhere, doing so many different things, and it's sometimes a little more complicated, but that could be something to that the band could actually put out. Obituary did some of that. They didn't have the rights to their first couple albums, so they re-recorded them in
Yeah.
their studio, and then were able to re-release them. They're just brilliant, man. And they just did a whole tour with that, and they were nothing but selling those records. That's how smart those guys are. And it's like, damn, how brilliant and smart, and to be able to have the equipment to do it all. And I love to be around those guys. They're just so smart, and they're so 110% into what they're doing, and total business.
Yeah.
Love that. And I know you hung out with them and got to
I
see
know.
them when they were up and see you in Chicago.
Yeah, they're great guys.
Did you see them on this last tour?
Yeah, I did see them. That was with Sepultura. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. I don't know if you said anything about, hey, did you ask him about the Savage album?
Oh, between Trevor and I, we always talk, and we always talk Nasty Savage. We have a lot of Nasty Savage moments that we always share. So yes, they love you
Those
guys, and they're just so in awe of you and the band and everything that you've done.
Yeah, man. And that's what's so cool about this whole Tampa Bay metal. There's a lot of respect there, and a lot of them don't forget, what inspired them. And if we did that, it means a lot to me that we could carry on that legacy.
Yeah.
And like we were the first wave, then that death metal movement came in, was the second wave, which really put it on the map. And I think they were inspired, and everybody said, "Well, how did this shit happen?" I said, "Well, I think they were seeing us as young kids, and they were so impacted with what we were doing. They just got drumsticks and guitars and bass and drums and shit, and they created this next level of death metal. Venom was out, Possessed came out, and then Death, Deicide, Morbid Angel. It was just this influx of heaviness, and I'm proud of that. So proud that they're flying that Florida flag, man. And if we had something to do with the inspiration, man, it means a lot. And I'm interested in a legacy of what's the third level? Who's the next bands that are the third wave, and I'd really like to put together a compilation record or project with all these next third wave of metal coming from Florida. And I'm kind of working on that. So we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of still good bands out there, great bands that deserve some recognition, but they got to work hard for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. A lot of these young bands don't realize how hard you have to work and how smart you have to be, and don't expect to show up at a gig and get paid when you can't even draw people. You got to prove that you can draw people. You want a record company to get notice, you got to prove it. And now it's all about clicks and how many followers. And then you got to deliver live though, and you got to pack some houses and create some media, and it's not easy. So there's a challenge out there now more than ever.
Absolutely. Another great performer who is no longer with us, Chuck Schuldiner, also loved champion Nasty Savage. Every single time we met, we always spoke how much he loved the band and so on.
Yeah, Chuck was he was such a kind, gentle soul, and then he created this death metal, but Chuck wanted to do more than death metal. That's why he was inspired by bands like Watchtower or Nasty Savage guitar styles, and he would, if he was still around, I think he'd be doing some crazy stuff, and or just more progressive stuff. But I remember when Chuck used to come to us before Mantis, before he was just banging his head with Rick and Cam on the front of the stage. And next thing you know, they came to one of our practices, like, hey, can we play? And they played and started playing this heavy shit. I was like, holy crap. And, they just all they took it to another level. And it's really cool to see the evolution of what happened and how things evolved, and now we're going to play with Deicide. Glenn Benton, I talked to him the other day for about an hour on the phone and catching up for years and years, and, One thing I do have to mention, Mark, is we lost Curtis Beeson. He passed away right when the storm hit us. It was so crazy. This big hurricane came through Florida. Our record got released at the same time as the hurricane came, and then Curtis passed away. Curtis Beeson, the original drummer of Nasty Savage, he was in other bands, Fester, and he played with Ben and Lowbrow. And oh, it's such a loss because Curtis was just such a crazy drummer, individual, and a great guy. And he was battling a brain tumor for over 11 years. So he was fighting, and he'd go in and out every once in a while for an operation. And but he went in this time and didn't make it, and he passed away. So we just got to honor Curtis. And it's such a sad day that we've lost Curtis. We lost Richard Bateman, Chris Morehouse, and the original drummer, Craig Huffman. And we want to honor those people in memory always. And, our prayers go out to Curtis's family. And it's a big loss to the metal scene because he touched so many people.
He was an incredible drummer. I mean, the drum sound on those early records was unreal. Um,
Yeah, he was before his time, man.
not only that, I heard reports that the storm affected your rehearsal room. So what happened there?
Yes, it did, man. The jam room that Pete is the owner of it. He rents it out, and he's always all the bands that Pete's been in. He's always had the jam room. So we practiced there, and that storm came, and it was like 4 or 5 feet of water inside it, underwater. There's pictures of him with a kayak with his Marshall stack, bringing it out of there. And Pete's a blue collar, hardworking guy. He's worked so hard for everything he's got in life, and he's a great family man and all that, but he's a hard worker. He does all kinds of construction and, hard work that he earned that stuff. And guitarists, they're passionate about what they do. So he had the jam room, but it ruined a lot of equipment, the drums, and there's a GoFundMe that's still it's still up, and it's I guess Nasty Savage. Uh, I guess you could find the links if you just go to GoFundMe and type in Nasty Savage, and it's really neat to see the people supporting Nasty Savage and Pete Sykes, and and so he's able to get more equipment back, and I think they fixed the room and everything's coming back together. We might even be practicing there next week before the show that we have. So yeah, it was terrible, man. A lot of shit happened, and it all hit at one time, So the record came out. It was so weird how it all happened at one time, and we'll never forget that one week in Florida here.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of reports and none of it was any good. Finally, you always mention, and you've told me this in person several times, that you love the World War III festival that you played in Montreal back in 1985, and you'd love to see that experience repeated.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool, man? Because Voivod's still around. Tom Warrior's still happening. Possessed is. Destruction is. And Nasty Savages. Let's call out a promoter, man. Let's bring it to let's do it in Chicago or somewhere, man. Let's really put the word out. Wouldn't that be cool to do World War III one more time? I
Fantastic.
think it'd be very I don't see why someone hasn't done it. It was unbelievable how we just were this band from Florida and got invited to play because of all the media attention we were getting and the first record. And there was some great fans and promoters in Canada that really believed in Nasty Savage, and we just got in that bus and went to Canada, and represented Florida, and it was really, and man, it seemed like just yesterday, brother. It's like wow, we just celebrated 40 years of Nasty Savage, and to be able to still do it 40 years, it's kind of euphoric, man, because some of the songs we played at every show, like Witches Sabbath or The Morgue, and those Triple X, I mean, damn, Unchained. Those songs have been played and played and played, and they're timeless, and to be doing it for 40 years is a testament of something. And to, be, and now rejuvenated, in the Jeopardy room, man, the Jeopardy room. It's just so crazy. I just got to thank God, that I'm still able to do it at my age with the younger guys. They are younger than me, and sometimes I say, "Man, you're walking too fast, man. Slow down. My hip hurting, man. Walking through these airports and stuff." But World War III would be great to bring it back again. And there's it's really cool. We're at Keep It True. We're in front of, I don't know, 3,000 people or something, and the guys got to say, "Man, I got a Nasty Savage. We did an album. We're together. Now we're on stage in front of all these people playing." I mean, it really came together, and they got to feel the impact of Nasty Savage. When that line was for 90 minutes and they still didn't get half the people who wanted to say hello and meet and greet, I mean, I was happy for the guys because they were feeling that. Man, I'm really a part of something that made a difference to so many people. There was people with their sons and their daughters and generations of people who said, "I got your demo. You wrote to me." And they were like showing me pictures, and "You wrote this to me on the demo, man, in the 80s, and if we made an impact, that meant so much, and it's like, I'll always give the fans their time, man, and their moment to make their day. I remember when I used to have to do that, and we'd go to Lakeland Civic Center to see the bands, but we'd go to the hotel before and after to try to catch the guys coming in or out, and we'd see Ozzy or Iron Maiden or Kiss, Judas Priest, and they'd stop for a moment or two and hang out with us and sign our stuff. And they'd walk away. I go, "Man, I love those guys, man. They're cool. That's why I love them. That's why I support them." And I never forgot that, and I think it's so important because heavy metal is real. It's as real as the biker stuff that I do. It's just a parallel of people who support each other, they help each other, and they're there for each other, but they also are very supportive and loyal. And there's nothing like that, man. And if you got a moment, give your fans or your friends the time of day, man. It means a lot, and it meant a lot to me. And even the guys that were dicks to us, would say, "Oh no, I don't have time for that." I still liked him, but I lost a lot of respect for him, But these are guys we had posters on our walls growing up, and it was amazing, And then we played Bang Your Head, and I think it was '04, and we played with Dio. And I know you're good friends with Dio, but when Dio was alive, we played with Dio, Twisted Sister, Motorhead,
Mhm.
Hanoi Rocks, Crocus, Udo. I mean, all these people were in the tent, this giant tent. And I'm just looking at these guys. I'm like, can't believe I'm in here with these. And I didn't even have a camera. I didn't take one photo, didn't get one autograph. I just took it all in as I'm watching Twisted Sister put on their wigs and their makeup. I'm like, and they kicked ass, man. When they played, I was blown away by them. But Lemmy and Motorhead and it was just amazing. And that's how fast time flies.
I
You
know,
got to
right?
make the most of it and enjoy it and smell those roses, man. And tell people you love them, and really appreciate life and help others and do kind things and make the world a better place. If we all do that, it will be a better place. That's kind of some of my messages on stage I try to throw out there.
Yeah, yeah, I've been hearing you saying that, and wow, what a great way to conclude the interview with such a positive message. Ronnie, thank you so much for taking the time and telling me all these things about the new album and how this new band came to be and all this amazing work you've been doing. Good luck with everything.
Well, and Mark, I can't thank you enough, man, because you've been there for so many bands, and I love seeing the pictures of you and you're young, like when we were young. And you've been doing this for a long time, man, and the people respect you because you're a respectable guy, man, and you fit in with everybody. You take care of business, and you're all business. You're a teacher. You teach people. You teach kids. You put them in the right state of life. You're a great father. I love to see the pictures of you and your family. And, that's what it's about, man. And I respect you a lot. And I always told you, if you ever come to Florida, we got to get together. But, man, I can't thank you enough for, giving me the time and help promoting Nasty Savage again. And I can't wait to see you again when we play in Chicago. And let's try to see let's rattle that news around and see who wants to bring back World War III. We need a
I
promoter. We
know.
need a promoter.
We're on a mission.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thanks for everything, man. Keep in touch.